I recently came across a few photos from about a decade ago. I can date them pretty easily because I have blonde hair. So, a very different chapter in my life. Back when I was working for someone else and facilitating workshops in meeting rooms that all looked pretty much the same. So, one of the things that I implemented in the locations that I worked at was creating a wall of words. What we did for that was we took printed starburst cardstock, the kind that you would recognize from being in a classroom, and I wrote the words on those cardstocks. And they were fixed decoratively around the meeting room walls, maybe a little playful, bright colors and all the things. And people were invited before the workshop started to walk around the room and choose a word. Not a goal, not a resolution, just a word that seemed to grab them that day. And looking at those photos now, I can see exactly which words made it onto those walls. And these are just the ones that I got actual photos of. So, one, willing. Because real change doesn't start with confidence or motivation. It starts with willingness, a willingness to pause, a willingness to look honestly at what feels heavy, a willingness to try something different, even without guarantees. The next word is change, not the dramatic kind, not blowing up your life, the kind of change that comes from small, intentional shifts that create space. Space mentally, space emotionally, space physically. So something new actually has the room to grow. Word 3, happy. Happiness isn't something I help people chase. It's something that often shows up naturally when the noise quiets, when the pressure lifts, when life feels less cluttered and more aligned. The next word was imagination. This one matters when you've been stuck for a long time. Imagination lets you picture a life that feels lighter and calmer, more intentional, even if you don't yet know how to get there. Another word was artistry. There is real artistry in designing a life that fits you, not one dictated by rules or expectations or endless shoulds, but one shaped with care, curiosity, and compassion. We also had self-worth. This one sits underneath everything. When self-worth is shaky, clutter creeps in, overcommitting, overkeeping, overthinking. Reclaiming self-worth creates space for boundaries, for choice, and for ease. Seeing these words again doesn't feel nostalgic. And the thing is that this is only some of the words. In my head, I can kind of remember things like self-love and inspiration and motivation, but these were the ones there were pictures of. So seeing these words again doesn't just feel nostalgic. It feels clarifying. And that clarity showed up again for me recently. Last month, I was in a workshop, and this time as a participant, not as a facilitator. And part of that experience was choosing a word for the year. Choosing a word for 2026. And I knew what I didn't want. As much as I love the word lighten, it is everywhere in my work. It's my podcast, Lighten Up the Art of Living Clutter-Free. It is my program, Lighten Up the Clutter-Free Mindset Method. It's my one-on-one work, Lighten Up Breakthrough Sessions. So I didn't want to reuse it or overuse it. And so I asked the group, what word carries the same depth, the same meaning, the same feeling, the same love that I want to share? Together, we landed on the word radiance. Radiance for me is about clarity without pressure, presence without perfection, living and working in a way that feels aligned and sustainable. It's about being radiant for myself by honoring my energy and letting go of what dims it. It's about creating radiance in the world by making spaces where people feel lighter simply by being there. This feels pretty perfect, honestly. So I'm going to leave you with this. What's your word of the year? I know a lot of people have selected them already. If choosing one feels harder than it should, you're not doing it wrong. Sometimes you just need space and support. And I would love to be that support system for you. So schedule a free one-to-one 30-minute strategy session with me. We can talk about a lot of words.